Sorry for that. So we just started on this particular sutra, the Sutra on Impermanence, and where things or phenomena are ever changing and impermanent and non-story. And if we really observe, starting with ourselves, is breathe in out is a Can you hear now? Can you hear now? Yeah. So it had tongue and then I don't know. It was changing, sky is changing. Sometimes it's very clear. In some moment, then there's a lot of smoke pollution. Sometimes there's no smoke. Sometimes there is the cloud. Sometimes there is no cloud. It's changing. Everything. The plants are always changing. In the morning it's fresh. Some of them starting to blossom, and then when it's too hot, then they are not so fresh. The evening again, some of them close. Again, if you check, it's changing. Everything is changing all the time. All these conditions, phenomena, it changes. As Buddha said, if you open your eyes, everything you look, everything you see is ever changing. Impermanence there all the time. The teaching of impermanence all the time. A lot of time we don't pay attention. We don't pay attention. If you pay attention, if you look at something, it's always changing. All the time. Of course, if we don't pay attention, we don't see the changes happening. But if you pay enough attention, it's changing all the time. That is the very nature of those things. Very nature is a law of nature of those conditioned phenomena. That's what it is. And we cannot change that law. That's how it is. And so therefore, understanding that is the impermanent natural law of that, and if we learn to accept and if we learn to go with the flow, you experience less pain and suffering instead of fighting against it. Because it's something you cannot change from the nature of such is change, and you cannot change from that. And so trying to change something you cannot unable to change, it can become much more painful. Much more painful. Instead, we learn that is what it is impermanent, Every day the sun rises, sunset, the weather, 1 year we have four seasons changing. In some places 4 seasons in almost like 4 seasons or 2 seasons in one day, in certain times, certain places. And whether we look at the plant, whether we look at the animals that live in this world, the plants that are in this world, whether we look at the people who live in here, every living beings, they come into existence, they are born, and then they go, they die. That is again the nature of it. If we understand and accept that's very natural, then it becomes less painful. On the other hand, when we don't understand, when we don't accept that, and we want to hold on grasping with a permanent, then when something comes to an end, and when we don't want end to come to an end, and we cannot stop from coming to the end if we don't get end. We don't have end. It can be very devastating, overwhelming. On the other hand, we can only try. And then, certain things we cannot really stop. The end of something. Coming to the end of something, we cannot stop. But that is very, and if we so that meditating, contemplating that every day can be very helpful, beneficial. That we don't feel like something is happening to us which shouldn't happen. Instead, we see it is just very natural things. As much as we want everything good things to remain same all the time, it's not possible. That's the way things are. So once we are able to accept and understand that, then it becomes less painful when we do lose something, when there is something changes, something changes that we didn't want or didn't expect, but to be able to accept more easily and feel less pain. Also, we get less attached and grasping to the objects, whatever object they are. The object of attachment, when we understand the object of attachment is ever changing, permanent, it will not last forever. Your attachment is less. On the other hand, to whatever object we have aversions. Also, when we understand that object, that situation, that event is also not going to last forever. It's also natural change. It will change. It will not remain same all the time. It will also pass. It will also change. Then again, your aversion is less strong. Your aversion is less strong. Your grief is less strong. Your fear is less strong. So through that, then it can help us to have less attachment, less aversion. Less attachment, less aversion help us to have more peace, happiness, joy in our life, and less hurt to others, less harm to others. So, importance of that, understanding that can be very helpful to have less attachment, to have less aversions or anger, to have less fear, to have less, worry or grief, or less sadness. So it will help us to have less or not so strong emotions of those, not overwhelmed by those emotions, strong emotions, those strong emotions. So then it very helpful. So that is what the Buddha asked. Also, when we have that, then also it helps us to develop pure renunciations. Pure renunciation through understanding of impermanence. We are less attached, and when we're less attached, we are able to let go of the more attachments. And by being able to let go of the attachments, then we are able to find and feel more renounce, more renounce, and to develop more renunciations. So that is we talk. So it is now we are in verse number 1, verse kind of 1.3, where it says, "For all beings, all spirits, and all that draw breath, life indeed, including death, has its limit in death. For there's nothing that is born that will not die." So here, so here all Buddha saying any sentient beings, any living beings that breathes, that has consciousness, the beings that we can see, beings that we cannot see, there are a lot of beings, that we can see, and there are also other beings we cannot see, regardless of whether we're able to see or unable to see, but all those different living beings, anyone, each of them, each and every one of them come to the end. Everyone has to face the death. And death is not a punishment by anyone. When the plant grows, it has certain lifetime. However that lifetime might be, it comes to end, decay. This is not punishment. No one punishing that plant. It's just the nature of that plant is that it grows and it remains for however it remains while it's being changed, and then it comes to decay at the end. That's very nature of that condition phenomena. Same is with all living beings. We come into the existence, we are born, and then we live however we live. Some live more, some live less, due to many causing conditions. But at the end, everyone faces the end of the death. There's nothing to do with punishment by anyone. It's just the way things are. It's important for us to understand and accept that reality. We don't feel like that plant when it dies, feel like that is being punished. Do you feel like that? Someone is punishing that plant? No, we don't feel that. Same is the living beings. There's nothing to do with punishment by anyone. It is the way it is. Just as we are able to accept the plant, it comes and goes, comes and goes. When it comes, we appreciate that. However it lasts, it might last one day, it might last 1 week, it might last 1 month, it might last a few months or a year. We appreciate as long as it lasts. But when it comes to the end, we just accept it and let it go. And just accept it, that is what it is. Same thing, in our life, our life, others' life, we come in existence and we have our life, how long ever we have, we try to make most of it. We try to make most benefit from that. We try to make that, appreciate that as long as it lasts. We appreciate the life. We try to make most meaningful from that, most beneficial as possible. Make as much purpose as much as possible. And then when it comes to the end, we just accept. That is it. When you are able to do that, then there's less pain involved. Less pain involved. When we don't see that way, when we are unable to see that way, and feel like we are being punished by some energy, someone, whatever that is, and feel like undeserving. Do you get it? I don't deserve that, or my family or my friend don't deserve it. Why is this happening to us? We don't deserve it. When it comes to a planet, we don't think of deserving, undeserving it. Due to certain cause and condition, they decay, they come to an end, and we just accept. Maybe there wasn't enough water, maybe it was too hot, maybe it was time, because it only can last for whatever time. Same, if we are able to see and feel and understand same way like that, then it becomes much more less painful and less painful. Life indeed concludes with a death and has its limits in death, So life has limits in death, So for there's nothing that is born will not die. Anyone who is being born will have to face death. Anything that is being produced by cause and conditions that have to come to the end. Anything that comes together will have to end, have to separate. It's only a matter of time. Nothing can stay together forever. Things come together and then they get separated. Things are being produced and they come to an end. Sentient beings are born and they end with the death in that life. Anything that comes, power, that will come, lose the power. It cannot remain powerful all the time. It changes. If we look throughout the histories, different countries were more powerful at one time. And of course, when they are powerful, they want to be powerful forever. No one has been able to do that. No one has been successful to do that. Because it's not possible. The impermanent nature, you come to the peak and then you go down, It's not like there is never ending to that. That's how phenomena, all the things are. So here to give more example of that, and with that was next verse. Monks, those wealthy householders, families, okay, wealthy Brahmins families. So of course in the old times, the Brahmin are the kind of the highest caste, those priests, the wealthy warrior, the king was the kind of next level of the caste, who are of great wealth, of great affluence, having an abundance of jewels, rubies, pearls, pearls. What is how do you? What is that one? PERYL.
I thought it was a type of wood, a precious wood.
Okay. Conch, crystal, coral, gold, silver, luxuries, owing abundance of treasuries, and storeroom of monies, grains, having abundance of male slaves, of course, in the old times, there was a system of slaves, so therefore, female slaves, servant, laborers, or having an abundance of friends, counselors, relationship, if you read about, old histories of the kings and those, warriors, having hundreds, they don't call wives, what they call concubines and like that, so I guess like that. Relationship, relative, even for them, life concludes with death, as it limits in death. There is nothing that is born that will not die. So saying, money, wealth cannot buy or bribe the death. You can own everything, all the wealth in this world, or beyond this world, the whole universe, but you cannot bribe the death. You cannot buy from dying. You cannot stop with all your wealth and power, stop the death. You can build, the most sophisticated defense in your house, your place, trying to keep away the dead. You cannot, So therefore, again, money, the wealth, the power cannot stop from the dead. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how wealthy you are, we all have to face the death. That is the fact, that's the reality. As Buddha said in other sutras, when it comes to the death, the most wealthy king and the beggar, they die same way. They both go empty handed. A king leaving everything behind. The most rich person, the most poor person, they die same way. The most powerful person and the least powerful person, when they die similarly. That they go all empty handed, without being able to take any of their power, any of their wealth. So, and here, the next one. Amongst those consecrated kings and warriors who have obtained strength, power through sovereignty over the people, who though having conquered a great circumference of the earth, even for them, life concludes the death as its limiting death. For there's nothing that is born that will not die. So here it's saying, your wealth cannot stop the death, cannot buy, nor the strength, the power, nor the strength or power. No matter how much powerful you are, how much strength you have, you cannot stop the death. You cannot stop the death. Money cannot stop, the wealth cannot stop, power or strength cannot stop. Monks whose sages, those sages, who are forest hermits, whose livelihood consists of fallen fruit, who eat fallen fruit, who are nourished by fallen fruit, even for them, life concludes with death, as if limiting death. For there is nothing that is born that will not die. Even those spiritual practitioners, even those who have given up attachment to any worldly things, and who live in the forest with very little or with almost nothing. Even those who have developed high spiritual realizations, high spiritual experiences, even they also have to go through the death. Also, they cannot escape from the death. Also, they are unable to escape the death. And if we look throughout the history, all the great spiritual leaders of every spiritual leaders, they have been so many different spiritual groups and so many great enlightened spiritual leaders. Among those spiritual, all of them has also faced. All of them has faced death. No one is still alive now. Even those most enlightened beings, even then, we can only hear from the history. We can only learn from the histories. But they are no more, they are here now. Even the most enlightened beings of all different spiritual paths, even all of them have to go through that. Even they have to face the death. Even they have to go through death. That being the case, so now here, the point is not just looking and contemplating on others. We do that meditation to bring back to yourself. Bring back to yourself. Knowing, if those enlightened beings couldn't stop death and they have to face the death, for sure, like someone like me, I would have to face this death. Someone like me, I would definitely have to face the death. If someone who is most wealthy in the world hasn't been able to stop the death, someone like me, how can I stop the death? I will definitely have to face that. If the most powerful and with most strength is unable to stop the death, who am I to be able to stop the death? I will also have to experience that. I will also need to go through that. So through that, it always brings back to yourself. Do you get it? It's not like looking there, watching a movie there, nothing to do with yourself. The whole is just to, through that at the end, to come to ourselves, I'm no exception from them. My life is no exception from them. I'm no exception from them. Since I've been born, I will have to face the death one day. And therefore, with that understanding, preparing ourselves. Preparing ourselves and being okay with that. When it comes the day, when the days come, you are okay with that. You are okay with that. And if you are able to do that, if you are able to face the death without so much fear, because you are okay with that, because you are not trying to fight with that, you have less struggle, you have more peaceful death. That is what we all want. And not only you have that, you will inspire so many beings that are left behind. You leave a positive impact in their life. You will inspire them. They will make them not to be fearful of death, to let them know death can be peaceful. Death can be peaceful. It doesn't have to be horrible. It can be very peaceful. It can be very nice, calm, peaceful. And if people are left behind, they get comforted by seeing that. Their mind is less disturbed. On the other hand, if you experience someone who died with lots of pain, people left behind, mind can be disturbed. They saw you struggles, pain, all of that, and it still bothered them when they think of your death, when they think of death. Still it bothered them, it still disturbed their mind. And it gives them more fear and worry about their own death. So it affects you and it affects others. As I was sharing, one of the friends that who passed away recently, usually, when he died, he died very peaceful, and I think it was very inspiring for everyone who was there. It's all Dharma friends as well as non-Dharma friends who were there, It inspired everyone there. Everyone wished they could have, wished they can die like that. And that is the impact. Not only he died peacefully, but he left that kind of positive impact and inspiration for a lot of people. A day or before he died, one of the last texts I received from him, and he said he has no fear, no worry, he's ready for the death, ready to accept it. And he takes, those 20 years of the practice has really helped him to be in that moment, in that way. And that is it, That is it. We try to contemplate, meditate on that, So when it does come, we are able to accept and deal and experience calm and peacefully. And also, when we lose someone who is close and dear in your life, of course, it's natural for us to feel loss, grief, someone who's very dear to you, someone who's very close to you, which no one wants to lose, We always wish that we can be always together, but reality is that it's not possible. And with that understanding, accepting, even when you lose, even though we feel the loss of someone who's very dear, very close to you, you feel the grief of that, but you don't get overwhelmed by that. You don't get overwhelmed with that. You don't get overwhelmed by that. You don't get devastated and overwhelmed by that. you will be able to handle it with much more calm and peacefulness. You know, and that is because you understand. You know, it's very natural. That happens to all conditioned phenomena. That happens to all living beings. It's not that something just happening to you or your friends or your families. It's not just something that is happening to you or your family or friends. But it's just a natural of all conditioned phenomena, and it happening to everyone, even the most powerful, most wealthy, most enlightened, even the most smartest person in the world. You know, even the best scientists were incredible, even the best doctors. You know, we have saved thousands of lives, 100,000s of lives, even someone who has saved others' lives so many times, thousands of times, even they have to face, even they cannot save their life when it comes to the end. One day, no one's able to, they cannot save, save themselves, nor no one's able to save themselves. And that is okay because that is a natural, that's very natural. It happens to everyone. So with that, it's always a matter of sooner or later. That can be helpful to let it go and not hold with so much grief and so much sadness, because you lose someone or you die yourself. It's only a matter of time. That is going to come. You cannot stop from that coming. If not this year, next year. If not next year, 5 years later. If not 5 years later, definitely 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Definitely it's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. So this is something we have to deal with. It's just that it happened a little bit earlier than we expected. It's a little bit earlier than we expected. With that, then you can, you don't have to be so overwhelmed by and overwhelmed with the grief of loss, of great loss. So that is, so again, that's always bringing back to ourselves in that, even though here we give those examples to others, and then we look at that example outside, and at the end, we always bring back to ourselves. I'm no exception from all of this. I too will have to face that. I too will have to face that one day. So I think in one of the sutras, I don't remember the name of sutras, but I explained, there's no place to escape the death, neither in the earth, neither in the space, neither under the ground. No matter where you are born, not only in this planet, not only in this world, even you are born in different planet, in different space. Still, as long as you are born, you will have to face the death. There is no place where there is no death. There is no place where you can escape death. So I think the Sutra says, you cannot run away. No matter how fast you are, you cannot run away from the death. You cannot bribe the death with the money. You cannot control the death with your power and strength. And you cannot destroy the death with your spiritual realizations. We all have to face. As long as you are born, you have to face. As long as you are born, you have to face the death. Such is the nature of conditioned phenomena. Such is the nature of samsara beings. Such is the nature of samsara birth. No exception, everyone. No exception, everyone who are born in samsara or who have samsaric birth. No one can escape that. Everyone has to face that. Therefore, so first fighting, therefore at the end, when we meditate, when we contemplate, therefore I'm not exceptions. Therefore, I'm also no exception. Therefore, the death will also definitely come to me as well. That will also definitely come to me as well. So to have that feeling, that it will definitely come one day. It will definitely come one day. So through that understanding, we have through that understanding impermanent nature of your life, through understanding the impermanent nature of your life, we're able to overcome the strong grasping of permanent of your life, permanent grasping, because that grasping of permanent is the source of a lot of affected emotions and a lot of problems. There's a difference. If I feel like, I'm going to, live forever, then I'm more attachment. Oh, I want that, I need that, all of that. We started to accumulate things. Sometimes a lot of time people accumulate a lot of things, things they don't need. They accumulate because they think, oh, the life is long, I might have 50 years, 60 years. I will need that maybe during one of those times. Do you get it? They see I don't need now. They see this is not something I need now, but in their mind, because I will be living 40 years, maybe I will need next time. And that's how they collect. Accumulating and getting attached to all these things and not being able to let it go. Even you don't need, even if it is not useful to you now, but you cannot let it go, you cannot share, you cannot give, because you feel, oh, I will need maybe 20 years, 30 years, because you have that grasping for a long time. On the other hand, if we know, I might not live 40 years, 30 years, therefore, I don't need now, it's not beneficial now. So it could be beneficial to someone now, can be helpful to someone now. So you will be able to give, share, and not be so attached to it, not have strong grasping to it, clinging to it. And if you don't have strong grasping, clinging, your mind is much more released, and your mind is much more calm and not so clinging, grasp and release and relax. Also, it helps someone, benefits someone, so it helps everyone. But when you have that permanent sense, that is what, same when we have aversions, if we think many years, living so many years, then you think, even my enemy is not harming me now, but they might harm, they might do something. Even though they are not hurting and harming now, but they might hurt and harm me maybe later when they get opportunity, or in the future when when I become more kind of whatever, less powerful, so forth. Again, due to that, then again we can have stronger aversions, hold aversion for a long time. So aversion, attachment, a lot of those arises on the basis of grasping permanent. On the other hand, when we realize impermanent nature, how things change everything all the time, and how life could come to end anytime, then you have less those feeling or emotion, less strong, and it's become much more easy to let it go and not to hold very tightly and strongly in your mind. So this is meditation on how death is sudden, how death is sudden, how death is definite, how death will come definitely and sudden, something that one will not be able to escape, something that one have to face one day. Now, we talk about some of the beings that we can see. Human beings, mainly talking about human beings, okay? The king, the warriors, the rich, the Brahmins, the Hamidish, all different kind of peoples, rich, poor, educated, uneducated, high status, low status, people with all different color, with different spiritual path, different belief systems, different spiritual path, different political belief, big people, big persons, small persons, fat persons, skinny persons, whatever, all those different, everyone who is born have to face the death. Not only all human beings, all the animals that we can see. All the animals also come to end. Also, they have to face the death. From big mammal to the most smallest, insect, or even more smaller than that. Anyone that's born, they face the death. No exceptions, even with the animals. We can talk about all kinds of animals, dinosaurs, all kinds of things, even they come to end. All kind of, and and all the animals in the world, outside of the world, if there is any animals on another planet, they all also face the death. Now here, Buddha explained of some other sentient beings or living beings that we ordinary beings cannot see. We ordinary beings are unable to see, but certain practitioners who have certain level of mental state where they can see it. But so then they're saying even they also have to, even those beings we cannot see, also they have to also experience the death as they are also monks. The gods of the realm of the desire. Okay, so here explain about. So generally, when you talk about all living beings, sentient beings, there are many different ways of understanding living beings, sentient beings. We could, in Buddhist scriptures, they explain from many different perspectives. Sometimes we can understand from, 6 realms, the being of 6 different realms. Okay, from that one perspective, all sentient beings are included. Some sentient beings are included within the one of the 6 realms. So all the 6 realms sentient beings who are born in samsara, they all have to face the death. In Dhammapada Sutra, Buddha explains slightly different way. Instead of 6 realms, then he explained, sentient beings who are born in womb, sentient beings who are born with the eggs, sentient beings who are born from the heat, sentient beings who are born miraculously, basically all sentient beings. Or 6 times they are born either through one of those 4 born, either from the womb, either from the eggs, either from the heats, or whether miraculously. So either whatever way you are born, you could be born in the womb, you could be born from the egg, you could be born from the heat, and miraculously, however you're born, it doesn't matter, but as long as you are born, you have to face the death. Okay. And here is explaining all sentient from the point of view of 3 realms: the desire realms, form realm, formless realms. Sometimes you see, again, as it is here, the way it explains from the point of view of 3 realms: desire realms, sentient beings who are in desire realms, sentient beings who are in the form realms, sentient beings who are in the formless realms. Again, all of them, since they all are born in samsaric beings, born in samsara, they all have to face the death. Within the desire realms, then there is, Nara, pretty, or hell realms, hungry ghost realms, animal realms, and human realms, and God desire realms. So within the God, in Buddhist scripture, they explain all kinds of different kinds of God. The God of desire and the God of form realms and the God of formless realms. So basically, what is hell realms, being of hell realms in the desire realm, whether it be hungry ghost realms in the desire realm, whether it is an animal who is in the desire realm, whether it is a human beings who are in desire realm, or whether it is the God who are in desire, they all have to experience the death. So that is what explaining. Is a desire realm because the being in these realms, they have a strong desire for desired objects. Mainly, like food and the sex, the experience of that and all those things, so they have strong desire in such, so that's why they call desire realms, desire realms. So within that desire realm, there's a desire God realms, and within the desire God realms, there are 6 types of desire God realms. So in Buddhism, I don't know whether we should go in all detail each of them, but so here those 6 desired God here, the God of heaven of the 4 kings, that's one. The gods of the heaven of 33, that is second. The gods of the Yama heaven, third. The God of the Tushita heaven, fourth. The God of the heaven of the delightful emanations, fifth. The God of the heaven of control of enjoyment created by others, 6. Those 6 are the 6 different God realms. Even for them, even all of those desired God realms, okay, even for them, life concludes with death, has its limit in death. For there's nothing that is born that will not die. Not only all the human beings, animals, and others, but even the desired God realm. Even you are born as a God, as a God in the desire, any of those 6 desired God realms, also you have to experience the death. Also you cannot escape the death. And of course, each of those programs, there is a reason why, of different name, but I don't, maybe we don't need to go in that, okay? Maybe let's not get too much into that, okay? So that, and next is not only the God of the desire realms, who are born miraculously, who are not born like a human from the womb, not born from the eggs, not born from the heat, but miraculously through their, marriage and miraculously. Even they have to face the death. Even they have to face the death. Even they. And so therefore, if they have to face the death, of course I will have to face the death myself. Of course, I will not have the exception from dying. So again, coming back to yourself. Next is the form God realms. Within the form God realm, then there are 17 levels. Within the form God realm, first there is 4 dhyanas. The God realm, first dhyana, second dhyana, third dhyana, fourth dhyana. And then each of them, in the first dhyana, there are 3 type of God. In second, also 3 type of God. Also in the third, there are 3, and then in the fourth, and then there are 8 types. In total, there are 17 different kinds of God. So that's what you hear they say. Next one. 1.8 monks, the gods of form realms. Okay, so here, the gods of the form realms are really superior than the god of the desire realms. And god of the form realms, someone is born there through their meditative concentration or samatha. To born there, you have to have that samatha meditative concentration. And so when you meditate in that, then having overcome the desire or attachment to the desire on a certain level, even though you haven't completely eliminated all the desire or all the attachment to desire, but through that meditation, shamatha, you are able to, stop from manifesting those desires by seeing those desires as undesirable, by seeing desire realm as something undesirable, by seeing desire realm as something to be abandoned, and then being attached to the God realms, form God realms, and through that, with that, then they meditate, and through the shamatha, they are born there. So that's what the form realms are. And so they have form, but not like, very gross form like us, but they have more subtle forms. Those who have obtained the first dhyana, okay, so the first dhyana, through dhyana is the meditative state. Through first dhyana, meditative state, shamatha, then they are born, within that, those who are born from that first dhyana, those who attain the Brahma, so that's one. Those stationed before Brahma, two. Those in the assembly of Brahma, those three Brahma gods, so those three different type of god within the first dhyana, they also have to face the death and all this, and they also cannot escape the death. And then those who have second dhyana, so dhyana is meditative concentration, okay, or shamatha, so the first dhyana, when you meditate, you try to see the desire as something unwanted, undesirable, and you see the form realm as desirable. And when you meditate on second dhyana, then you see the qualities of first dhyana or form first realm as unwanted and something problem, and you want to achieve better state of second form realm. Through that is how you meditate, and then same with second to third and fourth. Who have obtained the second dhyana, that is, so then within that there are three different, those of limited radiance, those of immeasurable radiance, and those who are radiant ones. So three, those who have, so three in the second form realms, and then in the third, those who have obtained the third dhyana, that is those of limited splendor, one, those of immeasurable splendor, second, and those of complete splendor, three. Those who have obtained fourth dhyana, then fourth dhyana, there are 8 different stages, different type of God. That is those who are unclouded, so that is the first one type of the God there. Those with abandoned marriage, those with great fruition, and those who have nature that's free from perception, and those who are pure abode, and that is those who are relatively not great, and those without trouble, and those of excellent appearance, and those of excellent observation, so 8, and even those who are highest, even for them, life concludes with death and has its limit, for there is nothing that is born that will not die. So not only the sentient being of desire realm, but also the sentient being of form realms, all different, 17 different realms within the form realm also have to experience the death, and they cannot escape the death. And therefore, if such God who have achieved such a high level of shamatha, who have been able to born there with such a high state of meditative state, shamatha, even they have to face death, then of course will face death, or will have to face the death. So we will definitely also are not exception, and we will also have to face the death. So that is today. We will stop here. Yes, please.
Question. I remember somewhere in the distant past being given a teaching that what animates our life is karma for a certain life. And once that karma has been extended in that life and completely lived, that's when you die. Karma animates.
There is some, we talk about, we might have created a certain karma to have certain lifespan.
Yes.
Okay, let's say 100 years, 110, or 50 years, 60 years, 30 years. But it's not only just the karma of lifespan, it also depends on image, cause, and conditions. So even I have a karma to live 100 lifespan, but if I don't have all immediate conditions to have that long life, my life would end earlier. My life would end earlier. That is based on when the conditions are there to support that life. We have to understand everything is not predetermined by karma. We all have different karmic potential, positive karmic potential, negative karmic potential, or all kinds of karmic potential. But in order for any of the karmic potential to produce its result, whatever that, you need immediate cause and conditions, need to be supported by immediate cause and conditions. We need the both.
But I thought that came with the karma, those causes and conditions.
No,
So you can ameliorate with causes and conditions your karma.
you can change your karma, or you can stop karma from manifesting by changing your immediate cause and conditions. You know, you can reduce your lifespan. You might be able to increase your lifespan, you know, through creating new karma and also changing immediate cause and conditions. So therefore, you know, therefore is if the karma and cause and conditions are all predetermined, then there's nothing we can do. That is not the case. Buddha has rejected that such idea of karma. You know, Buddha was asked one time by one of the disciples, you know, because he was giving some of his teachers, you know, from other school of thought, say, you know, if you are born as a particular caste, if you are born as a farmer or fisherman, or born in a family of goldsmith, or not the goldsmith, the other smith, what they call, who work the metal. Is it goldsmith? No. Blacksmith, and like that. If you are born in those family, this is your karma to be born in. That is your profession. You cannot be other things. That is how you are born as in a Brahma family. That is your karma. If you are born in a king or as a warrior family, you are, and that is how he asked, you know, about that, and Buddha rejected that ideas of karma, and he explained someone is born as a blacksmith or farmer or fisherman or whatever, by changing their actions, changing their professional, changing that, they can become warrior, they can become a wealthy person, all of that.
Where does that change come from?
Change come from immediate cause and conditions. You know, if I'm born in a blacksmith, I decided to take another profession, get education in different profession. I follow that. I don't have to be a blacksmith because my parents are blacksmith, or because I was born in that.
Okay, so you've got two people born into a blacksmith family. Okay, one person continues in that tradition and becomes a blacksmith and spends their life making their way through that kind of work. Another person in the same family, you know, also blacksmith, you know, it takes a different direction. Where does that direction come from? I know you're saying causes and conditions, but same situation, same circumstances, a lot of the same causes and conditions. Why is one going into a different direction than the other?
Because of the different choices they make, because of the different decisions they make.
But where, I understand that, and that makes sense to me, Geshe, but where does that difference, where is that difference taken up? So that it can be expanded into, you know, becoming, you know, an artist as opposed to a blacksmith. Okay, not explaining this well, but I
get it.
do you? Okay,
I got
yeah,
some-
I don't know, where does that difference, because I've seen that, you know, in families, people take a very, you know, different direction. And yet they have come from the same circumstances. Obviously their karma is different. Even within,
Yeah, of
karma,
course.
if they're born,
Yes, there is certain karma, and there is certain different individual karma, and there is some collective karma. We have collective karma as a this world person. Within that, we have collective karma being of these countries. Within that, we have collective karma in this state. Within that, there is a collective karma. Within this state, there are certain different karmic or different, and then within that, there is a collective karma in one family. And but within that, still individual, within that family, they have their own individual karma. Within everyone in this state, they have their own individual karma. So karma is not just limited one. There can be many different collective karma, different level of collective karma, as well as individual karma. So they experience collective karma as well as individual karma. As a collective karma, every family members experience some pain. But individual level, different family member experience on different level. Some of them experience much more pain. Some of them experience less pain. Even though they all experience pain, collective karma, they all experience that. But within that individual level, they can experience on many different level, and the way they experience it differently.
and also different streams of karma can come in and change a situation or make different things
Yes.
available.
As I said, like we have so many karmic potential seed within our mind streams, carrying all good and bad. It's just like in a garden where there's all kinds of seed. Potential is there. Whatever you water, that will grow. If you don't water the other, it will not grow. The potential there, the seed is there, but it will not grow because you didn't water it. Same way, it depends on what we water, which karmic seed. And the way which karmic seed we activate by watering it is through our individual choices, our immediate cause and conditions.
That come from the past. I have another question. A close friend of mine, a very good person, recently died. He had cancer, fourth degree, and he was in a tremendous amount of pain, and the medications were not ameliorating the pain at all. And he chose to do an assisted suicide. How is that considered in terms of Buddhism? Is that you're avoiding your karma, or how does that play out in his future?
The way I say, of course, there are many different ways we can purify the karma. One is by experiencing it, so you purify it. But it's not only way to purify the karma into experiences. You can purify through many different other practices. So therefore, if there is a way that you can purify or cleanse the karma without having to experience it, why not go for it? Why should we have to experience it in order to cleanse and purify? If there's no other way to cleanse and purify, then of course, then you are interfering with your karma. You shouldn't interfere. You should go through it and cleanse and purify it. But if there's other way to purify and cleanse it without having to experience the suffering, whether yourself or others, why not? And so that would be one. So in terms of interfering part, okay. As far as suicide part, is a different matters. It is never encouraged. Definitely is not encouraged to take your life. But also sometimes it's hard to really, for me, say someone is bad, because it's their individual life, their pain, their suffering, they make the choice, So, but definitely it's never encouraged to take life, no matter how.
My concern is that This was a very good person. He was extremely compassionate, just a very good person. And for me to think that, because of the extreme pain that he was not able to tolerate, and there was no future. He had 4th stage cancer. He was going to die. It was just a matter of when. And he decided to take this step himself. Again, his decision. But it would kind of disturb me to think that the fact that he took this decision, that would make another lifetime extremely difficult as a result of taking this decision. That something was done which had to be punished in a sense, with a negative future outcome.
Not necessarily. For example, if he had lived his, one of the most things that counts is how you live your life. If someone live very compassionate, kind, virtuous life, that will affect most the next rebirth of futures. That will be one of the most, crucial point in someone's life. And then, of course, also at the time of death, what state of mind also plays certain roles, a certain crucial point as well. And so, someone might be such a pain that they might not be able to, handle it and take the decision to kind of end the life a little bit earlier than, to experience naturally. But someone can have a still compassionate mind at that time, peaceful mind, virtuous mind, and that will affect their futures. And whatever negative karma if they have created by taking their own life, they can purify in next life if they find the right path or know the way to do it. They can purify. So that doesn't mean that they will 100% have to experience that.
So the state of the life and the state of the mind at the time of this death is a predicate for the next lifetime.
Is one of the important, but also more than that, more important how you live your life. That is most, because it says whatever virtues or non-virtues is more stronger at time of death. That will be the first kind of thing. If they are kind of equal, then what kind of state mind you have at that time. And so it's like different stages of that. But one of the most important, crucial factor is how you live your life, virtuous or non-virtuous, compassion or uncompassion.
So the reason for Buddha for this sutra at the time, I think, well, Buddha started out being protected from illness and death. He wasn't allowed to see it. But I think, for this sutra, I think we all know that we are going to die. So is the importance of the sutra, anyone who has been around anything like, plants, animals, obviously, family members, we all know we're going to die. So it's the importance of the sutra, the fact that the death comes to everyone. I'm just looking for something in the sutra that tells you how to die. I know you've discussed to be calm and not to cling and whatnot. So is that the center of it, not to cling in terms of coming into your own death?
So the thing is, of course we know we're going to die, but a lot of time we don't talk about it. It's not even allowed to talk in many families, many cultures, and so it is behind. And that's when death happens, they're shocked. how did that happen? It shouldn't happen. That's how people get so devastated, so overwhelmed, because, but if someone think about it, if someone discuss about it, they will not be as shocked and feel like it came from nowhere, because you know that was coming. You know, you knew it was coming. So the point is to contemplate every day. Not just knowing backside that we will die, but contemplating every day that we all die. Being that awareness all the time. Having that awareness all the time. We don't have that awareness all the time. Sometimes when we lose someone day to day, we have that awareness in that moment. Maybe that lasts for 1 week, months, maybe sometime few weeks. But then again, we go back to our natural, and then again, as though the day is not going to come, you know. And so the battery is running out. So the to bring the awareness all the time through that contemplation meditation. And when you have that awareness, as I mentioned before that, then you will not be so shocked and unprepared. You will be much more prepared mentally. It wouldn't be so devastating. And also, if you have that awareness, you will have less attachment, less aversion that we always talk about. You know, you have less fear, less worry, all of that. Yes.
Yeah, I have 2 points.
Yes, please.
Janine, to answer your last question, during the last year and a half, we've had a book club on death and dying, and Paymane led it. It's really not extant now, but during the course of that book club, we had it on Zoom, and we covered 3 Buddhist books on practices for death and dying. And I have them, and I'll be happy to lend them to you. But I also made I think you call it a concordance, where you shift the recommendations from all 3 books and see which one is which keeps repeating itself. So I made one of those sheets to see what are the most common practices to do to prepare for death. And I can talk to you about that later, and I can lend you the books. Geshe, I want to bring up a point. I think you made this about 2 weeks ago. You mentioned that there was a monk who was very old, and he voluntarily just stopped eating and drinking and let himself expire. And I didn't see that that was condemned in any way. And in fact, I've heard from people who have observed this effect on relatives that it's a fairly painless way to go, to stop eating and drinking, especially eating. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, when you know that it is not going, doctor has made clear, everyone's made clear you are not going to come back. You can eat and drink, and you can prolong that for, I don't know, week, month. Or you decided, I'm done, there's no 1% chance of coming back, and I can prolong that for 1 week, 2 weeks, that doesn't make much difference. So I decided to just go naturally.
What's the karma? What's the karmic tag on that? What's the karmic repercussion on that?
I don't know, that seems to me very more natural,
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
At the time that the Chinese invaded Tibet, and they came to Gandan and just completely, razed it to the ground. I saw a documentary on it, and many monks went out and hung themselves from the trees in the area of Gandan, and of course many monks have self-immolated through fire in order to protest.
Yeah, those hanging is clear suicide, those hanging is a clear suicide. I don't know those who at that last minute where they decided not to drink or eat, I don't know whether that would be part of suicide. I don't feel like that is part of suicide. But someone who is hanging, that would be totally is a suicide. And that would be a different than the other cases. Self-immolation also, is kind of suicide. But also it all depends on motivation as well. Intention, motivation play a big role, whether why you do suicide, whether because you couldn't deal with your suffering, your problems, or is it because you want to make a case and more awareness because you wanted to, for the benefit of the whole Tibetan people or the rest of the world issue. So again, what kind of intention, motivation they have, that also play a big role. I can't say of anyone what their motivation or intention was. So a lot of time it depends on the intention, the motivation has also a strong impact, not just the action, but the intention, motivation behind that actions has a big say. Okay, so we do the dedications.
Okay, we have a list here of people who have obstacles. And we're dedicating for Ken, Ava, Mary J, Yvonne B, Rolf, Isaiah, Yo-Yo, Anne Marie, Alejandro, and Lynn. We have people that are faced with illness. And we're dedicating for these people whose names are Diane, Cordia, Rosemary, Liz, Pereña, Tricia, Brian, Deborah, Jim, looks like Jay, Eric, Abby, Alex, Lyra, Tori, Robert, John, Elizabeth, Anne Marie, Gilbert, my father Jim, Mark, Gregory W, and Carol S, and Carol. And then we have deaths. We're dedicating for Burke L, Michael Timber, Kayabi, Rinpoche, Stephen Fennell, Steve, Norm F, the men in the submersible. And also for illness, we have Michael and Zia. Are there any other names that people would like to?
Michael H.
And Bill, that would be for what?
For illness.
For illness?
Yes, and Peggy H for obstacles.
Okay, now obstacles was who?
Peggy
Peggy?
H, yeah.
And for illness, Kathy N and Rick P. And
Kathy M and
P. And for death, Cindy Holmes.
And Bill, the first person you gave, the name was what?
Oh, Michael?
Michael, and that was for illness?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
And for something to add for obstacles,